Warning: the Gel Blaster toy shown in this video could be mistaken for a real firearm. Do not take gel blasters into public spaces or it will likely be treated as real by authorities. Gel blasters are classified as toys in Queensland regulations, however this may be different in your state or territory. Be sure to check your local laws before buying or ordering a gel blaster. Also, ensure you use adequate eye protection whenever using gel blasters. Stay safe, everyone.
So, g'day boys and girls, welcome in to another Gel Blaster review. Something you've probably noticed instantly is A, I'm lit up like a goddamn Christmas tree. B, I've got some nice little displays behind me. And C, I'm not sweating like an absolute pig. Now the reason for that is I've decided to move where I used to record, which is in the garage, very hot, into this nice little room. If you've had a look at the Instagram post, you've probably seen it. The most valuable reason why I did it, other than obviously being able to do this and set up some proper lighting, which I've now got either side. They are absolutely killing my eyes at the moment, but I'll deal with that. Is that wonderful little device up there, which is an air conditioner. Obviously, Queensland, summer, not conducive towards nice, comfortable temperatures. So, welcome in. Hope you guys like it. If you've got any suggestions, definitely post them up in the comments below. I'm very keen and curious to hear your thoughts and your critiques. I am going to try and do something with this space here, probably get some way of mounting up some patches and start putting them up there because I'm slowly getting a collection together, so why not chuck them up? Some of them are amusing, at least to me, so hopefully you guys will enjoy that. Just a couple of things before we do get into the review, as usual, because, you know, why break a combo? I am planning to do up a bit of a PSA style video to release on Facebook and out to the general populace. The reason is, what are gel blasters? There's a lot of things out there. A lot of people who don't yet know what the go is or are not sure about the legalities of it, despite everything going around. And unfortunately, when they ask on Facebook, some of the responses they tend to get are not exactly polite or nice. So, want to put that out. If you've got any thoughts on that, anything you think needs to be mentioned, I'm not going to make it a super long video. It's going to be very basic. This is what they are. This is how they work. This is the legalities, that sort of thing. Got any thoughts on that? Post down below again. Keen to hear your thoughts. So that way we can try and avoid some of the general questions that constantly come up, such as where can I get it, what do they like, this sort of thing. Pretty basic, nothing special. But leading on from that, I am going to then do a series of videos, probably 3 to 5, depending on how I place it out and how in depth I decide to go with it, in how to get involved. So basically from the idea of you just bought a blaster, or maybe you haven't bought a blaster but you're looking to buy one, you bought one, what then? From getting all the gear that you need, finding a field, how to grow your ammunition, and how to do everything else, linking through batteries, all of that. So if you're keen for that, again, any thoughts down below, would love to see what you guys think. That was actually an idea given to me by someone who posted it onto a YouTube video mentioning that they can't find anything. So I'll happily dive in and try and make that work. The last thing I want to mention before we jump into it, even though it's very plainly obvious what it is I'm going to look at today, because you either A, looked at the title of the video, which is the easy way, or B, you can see what's directly in front of me here, is we're getting very close to 1,000 subs. So this video should go out before we hit that point. Thanks. I think at the moment, when I last checked, we're at 835, 840, somewhere around there, and it's still growing, even though for a couple of weeks I've only released a couple of minor gameplay videos. So thank you for the support. Happy to jump on. Trying to, again, plan something for 1,000 subscribers, something special. We're still in the works on that. Unfortunately, Lieutenant Dan seems to have this idea in his head that he can decide how I celebrate 1,000 subscribers on my channel. So in order to try and curb his enthusiasm, I've told him that anything that happens to me is going to happen to him. So that's sort of reining him in a little bit. We'll see how that goes. I don't think it's going to help that much. Anyway, without further ado, we shall jump into it. And the one we're going to look at today is the Jin Ming Gen 10 ACR. So, Jin Ming Gen 10 ACR. Now I say Gen 10 in rabbit ears, which I'll get to in the basic operations section as to why I'm doing that. The core of this blaster is that a lot of people are very keen for it, reason being it's a different look to an M4. I like the body. It is definitely a step up in build quality on the externals and the internals, at least for a standard Jin Ming blaster. More on that later. Not only that, but there were 2 of these that have come out recently. Now this one is still slowly opening out to the market. Sellers are slowly getting them, releasing them and whatnot. I've only got mine not even a week ago, so it's still fairly new to me. I haven't actually put any gels through it as yet, which I'll do in this video, so you'll be seeing that firsthand, and then obviously the gameplay, which I'll be playing this afternoon. However, I have recently, as anyone who follows the channel knows, done a review on this one, which is the HE ACR. I don't know what the name of that brand is. So what I'm going to do is I am obviously going to focus primarily on this because we've already reviewed this, but I am going to link back here and there and mention where there are differences and comparisons, because it is probably something that a lot of people are curious on, is which one should I get? And that's a fair question. So this one here, I will bring it up when it is relevant, because there is some information which does tie in and some comparison which is good for you to know if you're not sure on which one to get. So I'll give you a quick short story now. Both of them seem to be good. So if you get either of them, you're not going to be really worse off. There is differences, yes. However, the differences are not as big as you might think. It's just different. Obviously, when we get to the chrono and accuracy testing, it may show more. So first things first, we'll jump straight into section 1 and the close-up look. Now, when you hold this, it is quite heavy. In fact, I would say it's heavier than this one. It has quite a bit of weight to it. I'm not 100% sure as to why that is, but it is a good weight, so it's not all bad. Not only that, it is a very, very solid nylon construction. It's actually quite thick throughout the entire body. When you do get it, this front section here is disconnected. You actually have to put that on. It's straightforward. You just take this pin out here. You basically slide it straight on. A couple of points here and on the other side in the same place where it just grooves where it slides in. Links into these little panels just there. And then you put that pin back through with a bit of a small tap, and it's now locked in place. So it's very simple to assemble. It's nothing special. If you've seen any photos of it in the packaging, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But it feels really, really good. I do like it quite a bit, the construction, the build quality. So let's get straight into it. Now, I have got a small little GoPro here, which I'm going to use for a close-up camera, so it's a bit hard to show on the main camera, just for main details points and whatnot. So, like I said, starting with the business end, just here you do have a nice little plastic flash hider. I'll just get that up close there so you can have a look. Perfect. Now, something interesting on this, I didn't realize initially, but it is just a thread, a screw-on thread. However, it's a counterclockwise thread, so instead of righty-tighty, it's actually lefty-tighty, because China. Other than that, that is quite a nice little design. I like the look of it, and it does look like you may actually be able to fit a hop-up into it, so you could probably jam that in there, and that way it gives you a hop-up a bit of security and whatnot. Moving forward, you do have your outer barrel, which is quite thick. Your inner barrel, which I'll see if I can get it in there, it's kind of hard to see, does come all the way out, unlike the HE one, which comes to about here, which is really annoying. However, it is still a plastic barrel, so there's no alloy in this one. Kind of annoying for Jin Ming. I feel like that by now they should be doing that, but they aren't, so that is what it is. Other than that, it does feel quite sturdy. This second bar here, which is a gas line in a real steel version, it is just used as a support, so that's quite nice. Further along, you do have the handguard. That is all one piece. Like I said, it does slide on when you get it. It does feel quite good. It is quite broad and thick. It is definitely thicker than an M4, so it is very much a thick boy. However, it's not as tall, so a lot of people liken these to the Scars, except I personally prefer these and don't really like the look of the Scar. It's just a personal preference. Because these are not as tall. They don't look as bulky, despite the fact that they actually have a bit more girth. So yeah, moving further along, you do have a monolithic top rail here, goes from here all the way to here. Now these iron sights, which you get with them, they are into the actual blaster initially, except this one you can take out. Now the cool thing about them is they actually clip up. So for example, with this front one, you actually have to push this little pin in, and then you can lift it up like so, and when you lift it all the way up, that clips in as well, so that way it actually locks it in place to a point. It's still a little bit wiggly, but it's not too bad. The rear version is just about the same. You can push it all the way up and then push that little pin into the side, just there. I'll see if you got that on there. Yep. And once again, it sticks up. Now, I don't mind that. That's quite nice because if you want to run an iron sight, it's quite simple. You put it up. They look quite good. Little peep sight, pointless, but it's nice. If you want to put them down, just push the pins out, slip them down. You've now got a smooth design. So that's nice. I'm not necessarily a fan of the front one because you can't take it off or move it. I'll get to where that's relevant later. But it's still very nice to have in standard. Moving further along to the main body of the receiver now, the upper receiver, it is quite solid and good. You do get a couple of little stickers, which I'll just highlight there, and also on the other side, on the left-hand side there. Just nice little mock manufacturing stickers, which I like. It's a cool little detail. Doesn't serve any purpose, just looks cool. You do have this bolt carrier, just here, which, like on every Jin Ming blaster, opens up the ejection port. However, this one locks back. Now, that's a gimmick, but it's cool because there's a little bolt carrier release just down the bottom here. I'll try and show you that. That's these little ones here. Ambidextrous goes to both sides. And when you pull that down, automatically releases it. So if you want to look cool when you're getting ready, you go, yeah! That's about all it's useful for. It is not a mag prime. I can't find a mag prime anywhere on this, which is annoying. But we'll move further along. Down to the actual magwell. The magwell is molded quite well. There is a little bit of texturing there. Doesn't serve a purpose, but it's there. However, the bottom of the magwell is actually flared, which I'll show you is just there. So it does make getting the magazine in and out quite easy. More on that later. You do have your standard clip just here for the actual mag release, with the button being on the right hand side, just there. So that's meant for a right hand shoot. The trigger and trigger guard is angled down quite thick, so it's quite good. Trigger is plastic, like most Jin Ming blasters, so don't go reefing on them because you're probably going to break it, just like every other one. Heads up. Then we come to the fire select. Now, this does not have a burst fire mode as standard. To my knowledge, this is pretty much just a direct line with an interrupter. Now, this here, you can flick from safe, which is the little bullet with a crystal line through it, single, which is straight up and down, and then semi-auto, which is a bullet with a couple of tabs next to it. Funnily enough, the one on the right-hand side moves as well. So you might think it's ambidextrous, but no, that's on full auto, and that is on safe. They are not ambidextrous. This one on the right doesn't actually link to anything. It's just there for show. It's a pure gimmick, which to me, you might as well have molded it in, and it's one less part you got to worry about. It doesn't really matter. That's just the way it is. Moving on to the actual pistol grip, you do have some texturing there. However, like the texturing up here, it's not very solid. Like, I would recommend if you're running around and sweating, get some gloves, definitely, because other than that, there's nothing there. It's just fairly smooth. So I'll just get you a bit of a show on that one. Then we come to the butt stock. Who doesn't like a nice, solid butt gearing? Now, a couple of things on this one. For one, to remove this back, you do have to, like in the HE ACR, you do have to move the stock back. Now, this one's quite stiff. It might just be because it hasn't been used. I don't think that this is going to be a standard point. It's just overuse, it'll loosen up. You do have to lift it up, pull it back and lift it up. However, oh, look at that. There's something there. So, unlike your HE ACR, that's not an open battery compartment. It is a battery compartment, but we'll get to that in section 2. So, being able to lift that up is actually kind of pointless at the moment. Stock does go all the way out, and unlike the HE ACR, when it's all the way out, it does still feel fairly solid. So this one, when you pull the stock out to full extension, it does feel kind of flimsy. So that is definitely nice and a better bit of quality. You do have a sling attachment point here and a pin here for attachments. And the buttstock does have a rubberized pad, again, similar to the HE ACR. However, the HE ACR one is far more firm rubber. This is very much like latexy condom style rubber. I think it might actually just be a pad of latex. So it's quite squishy and slimy feeling, and yeah, it's average. I mean, it's nice. It feels all right into your shoulder, but again, that's one of those things where that's cool. So it's not uncomfortable. So yeah, quality of life is fairly good. Major differences externally from the HE, it is a slightly darker version of tan, almost bordering on brown, so keep that in mind. if you have a preference on that. The HE ACR does not have any of the manufacturer style stickers. It doesn't matter. Again, it also, the HE ACR, to my knowledge, if it does come with iron sights, I never saw them. That one's not mine, this one is, so I don't know if that came with them, and I just never got them for the review. And it does come with a flash hider. Like I mentioned when I was reviewing that before I borrowed it off of a mate to do the video, he accidentally snapped that. So that's just unfortunate. But other than that, they are quite good. Like I said, externally they're quite similar, except for those main differences. The minor differences on the outside are not a big deal. Where the differences really come up and show is in how you do some of the operations for them. So with that absolutely terrible segue, we'll skip over into section 2 and get started with the basic operations. Now, the first thing I want to show you guys is the battery. The reason is, I'll explain my point about the battery cover being closed now. So, like the HE ACR, it is in the buttstock, it's in this top section. However, lifting that up doesn't do anything because that's got a solid cover under it with some holes for venting heat, I imagine. So with your buttstock, button on the left-hand side, push that in and that now opens up. So unlike the HE ACR, it does have external wiring, so you can actually have this buttstock flipped around and still use it, which is nice. That's a personal preference thing, of course. However, that is an option. Now, the battery compartment is just there. You do, as usual, come get these with your usual black gel gun connections. Absolutely nothing special there. Sorry about that. Now, the battery cover can be a bit tricky to get off initially, so I'm just grabbed a pair of pliers just to put in that hole and link open. Overuse, that'll probably get better, but that's kind of annoying. You'll see that is a theme in a couple of spots, which is just annoying. Again, use, it'll probably get better. Now, in there where that cover was is where your battery goes. So the battery that I got with it was a tall cylindrical style 7.4 volt battery. Now, I'm going to use this for all the testing just to show you guys what it's like. It is kind of annoying initially to do all this because you've got to sort of jam everything in and then put your battery connection through that little hole in the cover. And then you've got to actually put the cover in. So it can be a bit fiddly to get it in, like so. But managed to do it. Now, even though the battery's in there, when you close the buttstock, there is a cavity just there. So just in the back there. That's where your connections are going to live. So while the stock is open, I'll connect these up, like so, and then start to close the buttstock. Now the buttstock does stay shut, but it's only a spring pushing down and some grooves in the actual hinge. So it's not particularly solid, like, yeah, that's not taking much effort. As you close it, you are going to have to be careful about pushing your connection and your wires in, because otherwise they will jam, they will get kinked and probably get damaged. So that's now in. Clip that in. Once it's collapsed, it's fully solid. And now she is just about ready to go. There you go. Sounds pretty good. Except, of course, we need a magazine and some gels. Now, the magazine is quite interesting. In fact, believe it or not, I am more curious on what they've done to this magazine than what they've done to the blaster. I'll explain why. For one, this magazine is quite tall. For a comparison, let's take the HE ACR's magazine. Now, I was convinced when I did this review that these probably came from the same place because they looked very similar. However, unlike the HE ACR's magazine, this one has a window on both sides. So it's much easier to see the gels. The problem with having a window on one side is once you have gels in there, there's no backlight, so you can't necessarily see how many you've got. Having that window means that light gets in both ways. You can see them because they're more illuminated internally. That's good. I like it. However, let's compare the two magazines. The JM ACR magazine is physically bigger, and I could see that when I just grabbed it for the first time. So this one, I would be willing to bet, houses a decent amount of extra capacity. Not only that, let's have a look and compare it to, say, an M4 Wells magazine. Just take that down without making everything fall on me. So that's a standard M4 Wells magazine. It is bigger. I find that quite interesting because I like magazines with good capacity, as you've probably been able to tell. I'll just put that back. So, that is something to note. The problem that you're going to come across now is this is probably a very unique magazine. I do not know what's going to cross over, if anything will. The other reason for that, which I find very interesting, is these terminals. Now, if you have a look at your HE ACR magazine, it's standard gel blaster magazine design. You have a door here, you flip open, yep, and that's how you fill it, straight in the back with a couple of contacts just there. Standard fare, nothing special, absolutely normal. If you have a look at this magazine, there is no door to fill it. So how do you get your gels in? Well, this initially kind of confused me because if you have a look where the contacts are, just there, that's actually a separate panel. So, again, this is kind of annoying, so I'm probably going to do something to make it a bit easier long term. So, I've just had to get another screwdriver because unfortunately my pliers were too big. So that's annoying to get open. But now that that's open, you can see that's how you fill it. Through the top of underneath the contacts. Now, you do have some exposed soldering just there. I'll just show that. So I'm probably going to put a slight bit of tape there with a lip just so it's easy to pull up and open. That's a really interesting design decision. I am not sure what encouraged that, but I'm not against it. I can see it being an issue if you go tipping in carelessly. You might cover the connections in water. Don't go reefing this open because that red wire is actually at its full tension there. So I would lengthen that wire so you can open it up more for long-term longevity. Otherwise, you're going to run the risk of just ripping that out. But that is a really interesting design choice. And that's not the only one. So I'll just close that, and I'm sure I'll hate myself for doing it. These magazines are actually almost modular. This is a very different idea. So some of these magazines actually have a panel here you can pull out and use for clips or various other things. Don't really serve a purpose that I've been able to see. However, this one does serve a very big purpose. For one, you push that little, I'll just move this forward. You push that little button in there, and this whole thing will slide back out. Now, it can be a little tricky. Obviously, I'm trying to show you guys how to do it. So you slide that out. Now, that's a spring-loaded panel. You might think, what's the point of that? Well, funnily enough, if I push that up and in, that's the core of your magazine right there. That's just a shell. So you can actually see your little gear there for turning, for feeding the up the feed tube, which is just there as well. There you can see your little motor and turn gears, so that's kind of interesting. I do not know what encouraged them to design this like this. The benefits for us, though, are that this will be one of the easiest magazines in the world to clean after use, after a day of blasting. Because you can just pull this out and get everything out. Other than that, I don't know what the purpose is. You simply put them back in from the top. There are a couple of clipping points just there. Push it in like so. And to lock it in place, you simply got to push that bottom spring-loaded panel in. Like I said, it can be kind of annoying. I'm also trying to show you guys. Push it down, push that on. Magazine's now reassembled. That's a really interesting design choice. I'm not sure why they did it. They did it, so there you go. I find that very amusing that the whole thing just pulls apart. I like it, don't get me wrong, I do like it. However, still trying to figure out why. Now, obviously, I'm going to just load some gels with my wonderful seasonal wrapped gel blaster. Speed loader. Obviously, I am trying to be careful, make sure I don't accidentally tip any water in, because this is a automatically fed blaster. Little motor in the bottom like you saw. So if you are careless with that, you may accidentally put water in your mag motor and damage it long term, obviously, like any other. Close that. She's now loaded. The rest of this is pretty standard. Just go into your mag well like so. It is a bit loose in there. You just push it up like so. I always just give it a tap to make sure it's in. However, this is the bit that I don't necessarily like, is there's a bit of play in there, so it may be worth just sort of putting something in the side to jam it in so that way it sits a bit more firm. Other than that, like, that's a minor gripe. So we're now loaded and ready to go. So yeah. Now, likes and dislikes. Do I have any? Yes. I dislike the door to the magazine. I dislike the fact that it comes standard with a plastic barrel. At this stage, we really should stop doing that. Like, I see why they do it to a point, but that's annoying. The mag select, the fire select switch being ambidextrous but not, is kind of annoying. They should have just molded it and been done with it. But again, that's a personal gripe. I can't see anywhere to attach a sling up the front other than up the back, so you probably have to get something chucked on there. There is no quad rail setup for the sides or the bottom. Hopefully someone releases something for that, because that would be really nice to be able to get fore grips on, torches, that sort of thing. But these are all fairly minor gripes. Honestly, I do like this. I've already ordered a bunch of spare magazines, so I'm probably going to try and start using this as more of a standard blaster. I don't plan on doing anything to the gearbox. Obviously, we'll see how things go over time. The only thing I might do is chuck an alloy barrel in it, because I've got one sitting there spare, so why not? I will also probably end up using a hop-up on it. I'll let you know how that goes as well. Now, like I said, the gripes are kind of minor. With the internals, this is a V2 clone gearbox, so similar to a V2 AEG box. Now, they call it Gen 10, as opposed to the Gen 9 M4A1 they released. I do believe that this feels better than the Gen 9 M4A1. As a personal preference, I think this is a better product in general. Apparently, the gearbox has a bunch of nylon gears and components in it, and that justifies it being a new generation. So I'm iffy on that. I think that they're just calling it that to sell it because, you know, why not? So in May, when we're having a look at the Gen 22 Jin Ming, I'll review that and we'll see if there's any actual increase. Yes, that was a smart-ass joke. Not only that, but if you pull that back and you have a look, that's actually a metal cylinder. So I am very curious as to what they've actually done to this. I might get Lieutenant Dan to pull it apart one day and have a look at it. We'll see how it goes. But I am liking it overall. So I haven't noticed any delay in the trigger pull, unlike the HE ACR. So, but rather than speculate about it, let's jump over into section 3, the chrono and the accuracy testing, and let's see how they compare with their performance. So, load it up. Keep in mind for all these tests I'm doing, they're going to be hardened milky, so take that into account. I'm not using oranges for this one, even though I think oranges may actually go better, but that'll be another story for another day. If you're curious, one day I'll look into that and find out the answer. So just reloaded. I have run a magazine through it just because to clear out the barrel and get it lubricated up a bit. Does seem to make a difference for some things. Other than that, I do have the new chrono. So this chrono shows up white, should be a bit easier to see the the numbers, and none of that, I can show you spread of shots across the full auto burst. So first things first, other than the usual, always make sure you're wearing adequate eye protection whenever using your gel blasters. Something I want to show you is let's see how safe this safe fire select is. Yeah, that fire select safe is nothing, so make sure you take the battery out of this one when you're not using it. So I'll select onto single and we'll see how we go. Yeah, righto. So averaging around 250, maybe some just slightly over. That's pretty good, to be honest. I'm liking it so far. We'll swap over to full auto. I'll do a good spread in. We'll have a look at the rate of fire and the average FPS over a decent amount of full auto. Keep in mind, like I mentioned, this is the standard 7.4 volt battery, so there are going to be some differences compared to the HE ACR video I did, because that was an 11 volt airsoft Turnigy battery, whereas this is just one of those cheap Chinese ones, so take that into account. Alright, so yeah, we're still sitting about an average there, just over 250. Rounds per minute looks like 690, which is not bad for a 7.4 volt battery blaster. To give you an idea for the comparison, a real-world Uzi submachine gun shoots at 650 rounds per minute. So there's your sort of comparison there. Keep in mind, an 11 volt battery will definitely increase the rate of fire significantly. It'll probably double it. I wouldn't say double, but it'll probably 1.5 times the speed. So if you have a look at that, ignore what it says in the average corner there, because that's taking into account the single shots that I also shot. So we're spiking just under 260, and yeah, like I said, that minimum, that's a bad shot. So that's drawing that average down. Honestly, the average there, you're looking around 250 to 255. Yeah, I reckon if you ran oranges through this, you'd probably get an average of around 260, just because they are a bigger gel, and inside plastic barrels, which have a bigger internal diameter than yellow barrels, I think they would go better. Thought, obviously, until I actually test it myself, I can't say for certain, but that's pretty good. Like, it's not quite as good as a stock Wells M401, but it's still pretty good. So Jin Ming are finally catching up to their competition in standard form. Sort of, mostly. So I like it. The feel is good, doesn't have any recoil blowback system, which I like. So yeah, that's pretty good. To give you an idea, the average FPS of the HE ACR was around 240, so this is definitely an increase in standard point. Rate of fire increase, I don't think there would be a huge increase, to be honest, because I think they use the same style motors. So take that into account. Even though the ACR did, the HE ACR was done with an 11 volt battery. I think that would be the same if you put an 11 volt in this. But I'll find that out another day. Alright, I'm going to get out of my nice new air-conditioned studio, go out to the summer sun, doesn't like that, and we'll do a bit of an accuracy test. So before I do go out there, just a quick one, the scope cam, the zoom cam that I got recently, I'm going to try and use that rather than mounting a camera right next to the target so you can actually see the gels in flight. If it works, you'll see that footage. If it doesn't, you won't see it. So that's how you'll know how well that went. Anyway, let's go. So, out here in the nice summer sun, once again, eye protection. I managed to mount my scope cam using some ingenuity and some stuff that good old MacGyver would be proud of. But it's going to help showcase the point. This is why I would prefer a rail being on the bottom, but obviously it's not a deal breaker, it's just annoying for me. So, unfortunately my normal target has been destroyed. I haven't had a chance to build a new one yet, so I'm just going to use my right shield. The point I'm aiming for is the sticker in the middle, the G3 sticker that's kind of falling apart. First round, 10 meters, let's go single fire, then full auto. So yeah, not half bad. We'll move back to 20, give it a try. So we're at about 20 meters away. Let's see how much better she goes. I did notice that at 10 meters, it was sometimes curving quite a bit. I think that's because the plastic barrel in the Milky's been quite small, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, not doing too bad, to be honest. I am having to angle up a little bit very slightly every now and then, but for most part it's pretty good. I'm liking it. So far it's doing quite well. For both those range tests I didn't have to refill this magazine at all. I still had above the actual window capacity left, so I'm really liking that massive magazine capacity. That's quite nice. So we'll do a mag empty test. Now keep in mind this is going to take a lot longer than the HE ACR, because again that was an 11.1 volt battery, this is 7.4. But even so, I still think this will take a while. So I might even later on chuck in a 7.4 volt battery to the HE and give you the comparison with the same battery. So without further ado, we shall continue. Now I am also going to have this scope cam going. Probably not going to see much because I think we're too close, but yeah, you never know. So let's go.
good. Getting flashbacks to an M249 for some reason. I don't know why. Alright, set in. So far the JM ACR is doing quite well. I'm actually enjoying this thing. I like the feel of it. I'm liking the way it shoots. It's going very well. Am I preferring it over the HE ACR? Yeah, in a few ways, but we'll get more onto that towards the end. Now we're going to jump into some gameplay for you guys. This is once again just out at the G3 field with the G3 guys. Heads up on that, there is soon going to be a public field opening in central Queensland. I'll let you know definitely when that happens because I'd love to join some of you for some games. I'm looking forward to it. Keep in mind, I do have the zoom cam / scope cam mounted on the ACR this time. However, I mounted it on the top rail, and unfortunately it's too high, so the framing was really bad, and I didn't double check it before I went into the game, so there will be snippets of it, but it's probably not going to be a whole lot of use, so just be aware of that. Otherwise, let's get straight into some games. Hit! Kinda hard to break out on your own. Took a few extra shots. Need to reload. This right here is the problem with only having one magazine. You know, the funny thing is that one shot I saw curve right to your face. Got ya. Curving. One, go! Once he gets out of the spawn, he's fair game. Once he gets out of the spawn, he's fair game. Hit! Coming through. You like bounced off the top. I'm like, damn it. Oh shit.
You can either take it or I can shoot you. Oh, you hit. Bang.
I was like, yeah, someone down here and shot.
He's out. Yeah, I can't get him. Got ya? Woohoo! Ah! They've all gone around the far top side. Ah, hit! I'm behind you. Hi, Jeff. They're in their base. Whoa, that's close. Got me.
So yeah, there's some games from some of our recent G3 games now. Sorry about the zoom cam, I am still getting used to it and how to set it up and what it can and can't do, where it doesn't work. So fortunately I'll try to be a bit more proactive with that in future, so it's actually a bit more useful, because I do really like using it. It helps to showcase where I'm shooting, that sort of thing, whether or not people are getting hit, or what I'm aiming at in some cases. The head cam doesn't really show that, so yeah, hopefully the future videos will be a lot better after my learnings from this one. But moving forward, we'll jump into section 5 and the final thoughts, or my final thoughts, I suppose. So realistically, I like this blaster. It goes solidly well. It has solid performance. It goes well. It feels really good. Has a good weight. Doesn't have the annoying delay of the HE ACR, and the construction is good. I am probably going to do a couple things to it, but for the most part I'm going to leave it standard. I've already got spare magazines on the way, and I'm hoping to start using this a lot more as a normal blaster for myself. So I definitely do rate this. If you pick this up, you're not necessarily going to be disappointed. The battery compartment may be an issue depending on what you use for batteries, but if you're just using the standard gel connections and you're not going crazy on the mods, then you won't have a problem with that. I think that this does really impress for a standard fare from Jin Ming, which is nice, because normally their standard ones are not the best. They're okay, but they're not the best. So yeah, that's where I stand on this one. I do really like it. Is it better than a Wells M401 out of the box? Not quite. The Wells does have a couple of small advantages, but this one also has a lot of advantages over the Wells. Magazine capacity, build construction, does have an annoying stock keeps coming off like the Wells does. So it's not as long as well, which is just a bit more nice for me when I like to maneuver around, especially through the close quarter fields that I play at. So yeah, either one of those two are great. However, I'm definitely rating this because it's not an M4. I don't know how many times I can say that in one video, but yeah, I can't say it enough. Let's face facts. Alright, last bit for this bit is recommended accessories or upgrades. Now, definitely get a hop up. I was running an ATK hop up during those games, and some of the show footage you can't see it sticking out of the flash hider. It fits perfectly in, goes over the barrel, sits snugly inside the flash hider quite securely. So definitely I would recommend getting one of those. Not adjustable one, just a standard one, and it goes great. I absolutely love the thing at this point. Alloy barrel would be nice. You will get a bit of extra usage out of it. Definitely, if you're looking for a little bit more power and tweaking without going stupid with a gearbox. The next thing is magazines. Now, I would definitely recommend getting at least one spare magazine. To be honest, if you just occasionally play fun games or go to a field to play, 2 magazines, your standard, the one that you get with it, and 1 spare is going to be heaps, because the magazine capacity is good. Most games you'll probably only go through 2 mags, and you can carry a speed loader for those extended games if you need to. I am going to carry a whole bunch of mags because I like playing certain games where they go for quite a while and you don't necessarily get the chance to reload. But that is a personal preference, so definitely 1 spare mag and you're good to go on this thing, just to make life a bit easier for yourself. Other than that, that's about it. I don't believe you need an 11.1 volt battery. It would be nice to increase the rate of fire maybe, but at the same time you're kind of losing out some of the benefits of that large standard magazine. So honestly, I'm quite happy with the 7.4, and I'm probably going to keep it 7.4. It doesn't need to go any more powerful. As simple as that. But that's my position, obviously, and as I always say, personal preference is king. If you buy this blaster, I do not think you'll be disappointed. Now, that's that Gel Blast review out of the way. I do have something sort of special coming up soon. You won't necessarily see it on Facebook. You'll probably see it, you won't necessarily see it on YouTube. You'll more see it on Facebook. Working on that, hopefully. It should only take me a couple of days really to put it together. Of course I say that and it'll take me a week because I'm crap. Not only that, but Central Queensland Blasters are about to open up a field just in Beecher, and they also sell blasters to those who are based in Central Queensland where I am. So if you're looking to get something but don't want to necessarily travel to Brisbane, then there is that option. So definitely check them out. They're quite happy to price match anyone, so I've been told by the guy who runs it, who is a friend of mine, yes, definitely. But at the end of the day, I do like what he's doing, and he's not in it to make a profit. He's more in it to just grow the hobby, and I'm all for that. Simple as that. The more people in, the more fun we get to have, and the more we get to sing Kumbaya. Terrible jokes aside, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Once again, if you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like. If you have any issues or any questions, drop them in the comments below. More than happy to help out where I can, and I'll catch you next time.